There is an epidemic of foreign sex criminals in Britain. The number of foreign sex offenders in England and Wales has risen by just under 10% in the last year. Just in case you're wondering, that rate of increase is 3 times higher than Brits. 23% of sex crimes in Britain are committed by a foreigner. In London, up to 47% of all sex offences are committed by someone who was not born in this country, according to the Centre for Migration Control. We've had a spate of protests outside migrant hotels. Why? Well, because local people are worried about women and girls being sexually attacked. Then people turn up and shout stuff like this at them.
Where are the Nazis? Where are the Nazis?
Oh, yeah, Nazi scum off our street. Right, well, 1 in every 100 people in a migrant hotel in Britain is currently wanted for a crime. So maybe think about that. Just this week, we learnt of a migrant, Aaron Hajj, from Eritrea, living in a taxpayer-funded hotel, who was jailed for sexually assaulting a woman with special needs in broad daylight. This is before, as well, we've got started on the issue with the Pakistani rape gangs. How much more evidence do we need for people to finally admit that mass immigration, both legal and illegal, is a threat to women and girls? The stats are there, they prove it, we know them now. Why are these people even here? Just deport the sex monsters. But, as always, I hate to tell you this, it gets worse. The number of foreign violent offenders in prison is now at its highest since records began. Yes, that's right. It's risen by 8.8% in a year, nearly double the rate of Brits in prison for violence. 1 in 8 people in British prisons is a foreign national. And I don't think that even tells us the full story, does it? How many people are classed as Brits but aren't really? Like people who've just been given a British passport or who are dual nationals. Like, for example, the Rochdale grooming gang ringleader, Qari Abdul Rauf, who had both a British and Pakistani passport. So would he have been classed as British in these figures? It's an interesting point. There can be no case for any foreign sexual or violent offender even being in Britain. They all have to go. And we need to stop importing some people that clearly see women as fair game. Let's get thoughts from my panel. We've got Tory MP Anna Firth, former Tory MP, sorry Anna Firth, Conservative peer Lord Bailey and ex-Labour Party advisor Matthew Larser. Well, Anna, those figures are absolutely astonishing. So we've seen nearly a 10% increase in foreign-born people committing sex offences in Britain in the last year alone. It's a problem, surely.
Of course, it's an absolute problem. But I think the thing that's, for me, is most shocking is that here we've got a government that is letting violent prisoners out of prison because we haven't got enough prison places, and yet when we look at these figures, 12%, over 12% of prisoners in our prisons are foreign-born nationals. So if we got rid of them, if we deported them, which is obviously what everyone would like to see, we would then not have a massive shortage and we would actually be able to get more violent prisoners behind bars.
Yeah.
So, I mean, why, for starters, the number one category in the chart that you've given us is Albanians.
Yep.
Over 1,000 Albanians in our prisons. Now, we have an agreement with the Albanians. That was done under Rishi Sunak. So there's no reason. We started deporting them under the Conservatives, and there's absolutely no reason why this government couldn't deport all of them straight away.
Well, when people have concerns about whether it's outside a migrant hotel or it's just in general, Sean, about sex offences being committed by foreigners in Britain, well, these stats would suggest that they're right to be concerned about that.
Look, when people go out on the street and accuse people of being Nazis, it always amuses me. Their behaviour seems to be more Nazi-like than the people they're accusing. That's the first thing. The second thing is this: the whole political ferment has failed. One of the things that Kemi Badenoch has been saying, we need to rebuild our credibility as a party, and she's correct. And the Labour chant that you didn't do it as Conservatives, so that's some kind of excuse for them not doing it, I think is wrong. And I think there's a wider problem here. It's wider society. It's what's written in The Guardian, it's what's talked around the tables of Islington, accusing anybody who confronts these issues of being racist. We've got to lose that notion. The Conservative Party just didn't fail. The Labour Party didn't fail. We failed as a political ferment. That's what we need to do to move these people. And the tactic needs to be done. We need to say to people, if we have your nationals and they committed a crime here, you take them back, or we're going to have a serious look at our trade or aid environment with you, because this is costing us £600 million annually. We need to control those bills. We simply will not grow as a nation if we are spending all of this money administering madness.
Yeah, Matthew, look, the left-wing narrative on immigration has been shattered, not just economically, because per capita are worse off, but just in terms of sex offences and violent crime. I mean, let's start there, but up to 47% of all sex offences in our capital city are committed by somebody who's not born in this country. The fact that foreign nationals, the rate of their sexual offending has increased at 3 times, more than 3 times the rates of Brits, and then you add the violent crimes to it as well. But we are importing so many problems here.
Well, I think that, those figures are shocking. And obviously, our thoughts go out to the victims of all of those crimes. Now, clearly, we need to know why the higher percentage of these crimes have been committed by foreign nationals compared to UK nationals. That presumably is quite a complicated picture. But one of the things we need to do is know who's in the country at any one time. And I think, we all know that both the previous government and so far this government haven't got a grip of exactly who is and isn't in the country, and I think that's the most challenging thing. In terms of foreign prisoners, I think we need to ensure that more foreign prisoners are sent home, and so the British taxpayer is not picking up the bill.
Just on this, Anna, this idea that if we reduced immigration by large numbers, then our economy might, our GDP might go down a little bit, and we might not quite have enough people to do this job and this job. Well, I would come at it from the other angle. Let's reduce immigration so we have fewer women and girls being raped.
Well, no, but economically, this has now been completely debunked, that actually huge swathes of immigration ultimately cost the country more, because of course those people will normally want to bring dependents. That's a normal, natural thing to do, and they have done, and they shouldn't have been allowed to. But then of course they grow old, and then obviously they depend on the state as well, and they're coming in and not doing high-level, high-skilled jobs, so they're not paying taxes that will ever pay for the amount which they will extract from the state. So that's the first thing, that economically it's nonsense. But the second thing is that we can deport a vast swathe of these foreign prisoners, and this government should be doing it. And Keir Starmer has not done it. He said he was going to smash the gangs. We've now got record numbers coming across the channel.
If 1 in 8 people in British prisons are foreign-born, and that's presumably ignoring anyone who's a dual national. Well, a lot of people might be dual nationals anyway. Should we just get rid of them?
Look, anything we do around immigration now has to be radical, or you're tinkering at the edges. And tinkering at the edges is a mistake that the Conservative government made. It looks like there's a mistake that the Labour government are about to repeat. And let's be clear, this isn't about black, white, Muslim, Christian. This is about our ability to administer the country and feed the poorest people here. Straight away, the 2 subjects we've covered tonight, 1.6 billion we're giving in benefits to people who are not British nationals, and then another 600 million just talking about prisons. So the idea that controlling these things wouldn't help us grow as an economy is for the birds. Of course it would make a difference, because it would just cut down on the outgoings of running the country. These are important things, and this is before you get to things around cultural change. And I say to anybody now who's a liberal screaming at the television, all the things you hold dear, these influx do not hold dear. So at some point they will challenge what you want to see this nation do, and you will lose that unless we control it now.
We have more than enough of our own violent thugs and sex offenders who are Brits. We have more than enough of that. Why are we content to import so many others, Matthew?
Well, I mean, I don't think we should be content about it, and frankly, I don't think anybody is. But if naivety is one of the reasons that has happened, and naivety from the lobby who say that all immigration is good, actually, when you look at the statistics, I was pro remaining in the EU. EU migration, EU migrants on average make a net contribution to the economy. Non-EU migrants don't. That's an economic fact. Sadly, when we left the EU, then obviously we changed our migration policy with the Boris bounce. So where hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people came in and bought dependents in a way that they hadn't before. And so, I think we need to think about who we're letting into the country. Yes, we do need some migration to keep the economy going, but we need to keep those numbers down, sensible level, and we also need to think about who we're letting in terms of the sustainability of bringing people.
It's also interesting that these numbers have come to light now. it's been very difficult to get hold of a lot of these numbers for quite a while. They've been kind of compartmentalised in various different places. It's almost been like the state has been quite keen to try to hide this information from us, Anna.
Well, they probably have been a bit slow in coming forward with this information, but, you know, Robert Jenrick in particular has been and continues to be extremely vocal about getting this information, and we are now getting more disclosure. So, credit to the government for doing that. But the fact remains that we have the power to deport a good number of these foreign prisoners who are in our prisons. £600 million, as Sean has said, that would give us 15,000 more nurses or 15,000 more police officers.
Give the nurses the money they want.
Yeah. So we have the power is there. The returns agreement was done by the previous Tory government, and this government needs.
That was for immigrants, though. It wasn't for prisoners.
No. There was a prisoner return agreement done in 2023.
Well, it should be more actively pursued.
And this government now has got the baton, and they need to get on with it. And in particular with the boats.
But here's the deeper thing. I sometimes almost feel like it isn't the government who are not doing it. It's the system. Yeah. It's the people who run the Home Office. I bet if Keir Starmer stood here now, he'd mean it when he says he wants to remove these people, but he's been told he can't. Again, I go back to the wider situation. You know, people taking the government to court when they're trying to administer the country by removing people. That everybody in the media accusing people of being racist when they just say we need to control immigration. Yep. These are the things that are driving politicians to be impotent in this arena.
Sorry, I was going to Matthew, and then we're going to have to move on. But this is why when people now, when the migrant crisis first started, the illegal migrant crisis first started, and then we started to also see serious record numbers of legal migration into this country, anyone who was opposed to it was called a racist. They were called far right. You can't do these things. You lost friends over it. You weren't allowed to go to certain dinner parties. Not that I was ever particularly involved with the dinner party set anyway, but some people were excommunicated from parts of North London, and it was shocking. But actually, it's turned out now that everything those people feared has come true, hasn't it, Matthew?
Well, I don't think people should be labelled far. I think trying to close debate down by calling people far right is frankly a hiding to nothing and wrong, because you have to have an honest, open debate. I think migration can be a good thing for the economy. It can be a good thing for Britain, but it has to. But I think with the numbers have got too big, and we probably have gone past the point where that's an all-seeing good.
Having nearly 2,000 foreign sex offenders in our prisons is an absolute insult to the victims, because they are paying through their taxes, and it really has to be stopped.
The last point that needs to be made, when you see the judges deal with it, when you see certain people in Parliament deal, there's a naivety there. Yep. They don't seem to understand that people are gaming the system. We are being abused. Our goodwill is being abused, and that needs to be turned around.
Well, there you go. I mean, those are the stats, right? Those are the official figures, that basically there's been near enough a 10% increase in foreign sex offenders in the last year alone, and an 8% increase in foreign violent crimes in the last year alone. And both of those rates are significantly higher, by either 3 times or twice as much, respectively, as those committed by Brits, which is an unbelievable stat. I mean, and there it is for you. There it is. So I kind of feel like the arguments won. Will anyone do anything about it? But